we talked about how important you feel citizen engagement is, and I ascertained from your responses that you feel it's important, that it's important. So, but from my observation as a resident of Stonecrest, I tend to see the same people being engaged. How would you improve citizen engagement so that new voices get accessed, new people get engaged? What are some of the ways that you would do that?
So it's funny because, you know, even though we've had a lot of this negative publicity, it has brought out more voices than we had before. So I'm not suggesting that that is the best method to recruit new voices. Most certainly is not, but by no stretch of the imagination. But the silver lining is what I try to find in just about everything, is that it did bring new voices to the table who I think always had concerns, but maybe just didn't feel like it was appropriate for them to voice them until things really, you know, hit hard. So we have I think recently now we have newer voices than we had before. So I'm encouraged by that engagement. Although I'm not excited about that's how we got here, I'm encouraged by the level of engagement that we see today. And my hope is that people stay engaged, that not just because something bad happened, because they now see the value in that city service. They see the value in that close government. And I really, really hope that people continue to push on us. I know that may sound strange coming from the incumbent, right? But I think it makes the job easier. If I know what you want, it's easier for me to represent your voice. If I don't know, and you're not communicating that with me, I'm doing what I think is best, but that may not always be what the collective desires. I think I do a pretty good job of it because I touch my community. I talk. People blow up my personal phone all the time. Like my son he hates going to the store with me because we cannot get in and we cannot get out. But I enjoy it. There's this joke in the family that if you go somewhere with Jazzmin, you just better not have plans because it could go left or right quick. I mean, and she's gonna stand there and talk. And she's gonna engage. She's gonna have that conversation. So I hope that people continue to be engaged because to me it makes the job easier. I need to hear how you feel about certain things. I need to know what you're looking for out of this community. I think we generally have common ground, which I think is why people are huge supporters of mine, because we have that common ground. I think they trust that for the most part, I have a good grasp on what it is that we want as a community. But to recruit and to continue that recruitment that's not coming from a negative place is to continue to get down to the level of the constituent, to educate and help them understand that the things that we are making decisions on affect their everyday life. And I think it's more than just a phrase to say, you can touch the local government. I think that we have to truly do that in a physical way. I think we have to literally go out there and touch them. I think we have to educate folks on, look, this planning and zoning thing is a big deal. Because if this business comes here and you live there and it's one that you feel is going to affect your quality of life, we got to talk. Right? I need you to know that that makes a big difference. I need you to know that the economic development efforts that we have, this is how this community is going to be developed. This is what this comp plan, this is what our city will look like. I need to know if this is something that you want to live in. So I think making sure that folks understand the true connection between local government and how it affects their everyday quality of life. I think once we get that education in, then folks will authentically have an engagement. They'll want to be a part of it because they now understand that what happens if they're not. And I think that's super important. And I think we have to continue to do that. Although we get wrapped up in the legislative role, and of course that is our number one job is to make sure that we are satisfying that legislative role. We have to remember that even though we have that acumen, even though the folks who are at the table have that acumen, we have to make sure that we bring it down to a level of the everyday citizen and the everyday business owner who needs to also understand how code enforcement affects their business every day, right? And how those policies and compliance with that makes a huge difference on whether or not that business is successful. I think we have to take it down to that level. I think once we get it there, that folks will authentically want to be a part of it, again, because they understand what happens if they're not. And so we just have to keep doing what we're doing now. I think that this current city council has made, strides in that direction every day, especially here lately. And with this new, delineation of power, it allows us to create that sense, that vision for our staff, but also it sets that expectation for our community, that this is the method that we will use. This is how we will be a community. This is how we will tie to each other. And I think if we continue to rebrand and rebuild based on those principles, that we will be everything we want to be and more.
I love that. I kind of wish that you had delivered that at the end. I'm like, that would have been great to close it, but it's okay.
I'll try to give you another one.
Okay. So I love that end. And what I heard was so much of a calling in, right? Even as you celebrated the successes, you also were calling in community and showing where there's room for improvement. I love that. There's always room for improvement. And there are grassroots organizations here that are looking, I know, to support citizens and the city in that relationship building, in those relationship building efforts. Stonecrest Citizens Coalition just being one. There are others here. So what do I want to ask? I thought about, I was reading an article and not the one that was published here recently, though I read that also, but an older article that was published in the AJC on September 24th mentioned the $9.7 million that the city is going to be receiving under the American Rescue Plan, and that the city had already received about $4.9 million. Those are huge numbers. But at the same time, when you think about a city, you know what I mean? Depending. But for the average reader, the average resident, those are big, huge numbers. $9.7 million in my household transformed my whole life.
Yeah, sure.
So
you can be a third of that.
Right. This mattress is a month old. I can't sleep on it. No, I'm just kidding. That's ridiculous. That would never happen. So the article mentions that residents will be able to participate and give their thoughts during public discussions. So this gets into, again, the community engagement piece. When do you anticipate conversations and engagement around the American Rescue Plan funds will begin?
So we have the RFP, I believe, is closed already. I think it closed on the 21st. So once a firm is selected, which I believe we'll have a firm selected before the calendar year is over. Once a firm is selected, then of course, I would say maybe beginning of the year, they will begin to talk to us about just kind of a core idea of what we have for this program. But their job is to help build that program out. So they'll sit down, they'll talk to us about what do we want to achieve from this? What are the things we have to have? What are the things we most certainly want to stay away from? Which I think we have a good idea what that is. But really, what is our end goal for this program? I think once we get that vision relayed to them, and then they'll begin to go out to the community, have conversations, pop-up shops, similar to what we've done with the comp plan, the transportation master plan, the parks master plan, where we have these different citizen engagement sessions all around the city in different places. We just need folks to participate. there's a lot of conversation after the fact. Oh, it doesn't satisfy this, it doesn't satisfy that. But I push back on quite a bit on that, because the firms that we have hired for all of those plans have taken our direction to have those opportunities for our community to be engaged and to provide feedback. We put surveys online, keep them open for months. We have pop-up locations where we're encouraging folks to come, have a conversation, sit down. And so the engagement is the important part. I think that we have done our job of making that available. I think that we need citizen groups to help get that message out and help get folks to the table. So I don't see this being any different than that. I think, they will continue, we will have that same vision, that we will give them guidance to say, hey, we want community engagement, we need feedback. Go out and talk to our folks, talk to our community, talk to our residents, talk to our businesses, talk to our associations, talk to our partners, our government partners, our nonprofit partners, talk to everybody, so that when we have the program designed, it's designed with everyone in mind.
That's good. That's good. So I'm a huge advocate of participatory budgeting. I always am going to love processes that call in community to be really close, and because I think that it saddens and it makes me feel heavy when there are processes in place that really solidify the what do I want to say, the distinctions between residents, right?
Right.
That and in other formats I talk about, classism and all of these things we find ourselves using, whether we're actively using it or passively using it to categorize people and then also value them. Because when we're categorizing people, sometimes we're valuing them and or devaluing them in that process. So I like processes and procedures that bring people together. But to your point, it is a challenge to get people there. I've noticed that to get people at the table, like even when you're saying, hey, this seat here is for you, actually getting them to the table is an issue. Yeah. But then we see initiatives like what DeKalb County is doing to get people vaccinated, right? 2,100 people vaccinated, and they had to set aside budget funds to get that done because they attached a financial incentive. Right. So we see the same practices when in school systems where they want parents to come out. Well, you feed them dinner. You have dinner there. You want parents to come out. You have breakfast. You have coffee and all those kind of things, because this is people's time, and people's time is valuable. All the people. Right. Because that's the only thing we cannot manufacture. Time. We cannot recreate it. So I really appreciate your sharing on that. Another super important question for you, Jazzmin: Batman or Superman?
Just slide that on in there, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Yes, I did.
Okay, are you ready? And see, now I'm not.
I don't know, because we've been vibing. I'm like, what's she gonna say?
I know. I'm not sure how you're gonna respond.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We're a Batman family over here.
Okay. Okay.
All right. That's a sensitive subject. I mean, you're either diehard Batman or you're diehard. I mean, I don't find many people in the middle, but you can really divide folks.
You can.
When you get down to Batman or Superman. I mean, it's a thing. It's
rightfully so. Because there's a right answer there.
Yeah, it's a thing. But we are wholeheartedly Batman over here. I mean, we are all the way through Batman. Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I'm 2 for 2, so we can keep going.
I'm saying.
Maybe I can bail out while I'm ahead. I don't know.
So as we close out, because we're closing out, I have kept you long enough, and you've been so gracious.
It's been fun. It's been fun.
If you had $1 million to spend in Stonecrest, this is a two-part question. You got $1 million to spend in Stonecrest,
which is not a lot, by the way.
No, it's not.
It's not $1 million on a segment of a sidewalk in no time.
Right. If you had $1 million to spend in Stonecrest, where and how would you spend it, and why? And then, this is a two-point question. What attractions would allow you to celebrate an entire birthday weekend here?
What attractions would allow me to celebrate an entire birthday weekend here? Okay. So first question, if I had $1 million budget,
yep,
and I could do anything with it, I would more than likely find a way to recruit and provide salaries to more law enforcement officers. That's what I would do with my $1 million. There are many things I would choose to do if I had multiples of millions of dollars. Because like I said, I mean, seriously, there's a lot of need, right? I mean, we need sidewalks, we need road paving, we need lights, we need bus beds, and I mean, $1 million on a sidewalk is a segment of it won't get you as far, but it's needed, right? That small segment could make the difference in the quality of life for one community, right? So that's not to say that it's not valued. But I would put it where the people are. I would take that $1 million and I would try to use that toward recruiting and hiring of more law enforcement officers to protect our city. That's why I would do with that. Now, what attractions or entertainment would I need to have a full birthday weekend? Man, okay, so
you need a masseuse. I know that.
Right. And then see, my birthday's in December. So we would need some way to bring sand and a palm tree, some way to bring warmth. I'm originally from Philadelphia, but I do not like the cold. Mm-hmm. I try not to go home after October, and most certainly not before June. Like, unless it's an emergency, I don't like being cold at all. So if there was a way that Stonecrest could provide warmth in December that had sand and palm trees, that would be great for me for my birthday. A masseuse to be on that sand with me, and one just for my feet, and then someone else for the rest of my body, because the foot massage needs to go on even when the body massage ends. I'd like to see a basketball arena so that we could have the craziest basketball tournaments that we could have here. I'd like to see a place like a main event where it's under one roof, where there's all kind of entertainment that's family entertainment. I love those kind of like Stars and Stripes places where, I mean, my son can be playing, arcade games. We could be bowling and having a drink, eating some wings. There's laser tag going on. I love those places. I mean, truly everyone can have a good time all under one roof. You don't have to worry about who's going where, when. I mean, everybody's satisfied when you leave. So having something like that would be awesome too, so that when I finish with my foot massage, I can go over and have a beverage, bowl with my family. My son is having a good time with his friends. So yeah, I know that's an unorthodox mix, but since it was about what I would want for my birthday,
right,
there you have it.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you again so much. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with you this evening. I'm glad to hear that. And residents can find you. You have a website for your election. You have a platform. What is it?
I do, and it's actually up all year long. Okay. So I try to translate some of the things that we're doing in the city onto my website as well, so that they're in both places. So it's always up. It is cobbledforcouncilwoman.com.
Awesome. So
cobbleforcouncilwoman.com. It's always up. Of course, right now it's very active with re-elect items, but as soon as the election is over, it'll kind of go back to just being a mirror of the Stonecrest website. And then, of course, things strictly for District 3 will be there as well. But yeah, it's always up. It's always resourceful. There's always information on there about the elections, whether it's Stonecrest or not. There's always information about voter registration, absentee balloting, information about SB 202 is there. So it's resourceful, no doubt. But also, if you want to find out about Jazzmin, there's your one-stop shop.
Awesome. Well, Stonecrest residents, we fully expect you all to be voting. Advanced voting starts October 12th. Election day is November 2nd. Councilwoman Cobble has already told you where to find her information. And also, if you haven't visited the city's website, please do so. Stay engaged, stay involved. That's stonecrestga.gov. And then you can always visit Stonecrest Citizens Coalition on Facebook. You can find us at Stonecrest Citizens Coalition, and also on our website, which is stonecrestcitizens.org. Thank you again so much.
You're more than welcome. Anytime. It was my pleasure.